Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 997A, and today's date is June 14th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The U.S. Joins Europe and Begins Austerity. Welcome to the collapse. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I uploaded today an interview with David Quinteri. He's from Money GPS. And you can see this on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. So you can just go right over to the YouTube channel. You'll see the video there. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side. You'll see the video there. Or you can go to newssentinel.com. Same thing. Scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, and you can play the video right there. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, out in Europe, we've been looking at the situation for quite a while. We've been looking at different countries. We know a lot of countries have a lot of debt. We know there's austerity on the people because this is what the central banks want. We know Greece, they have been under austerity for a very long time. Cyprus, France, Italy, Spain. And here in the United States, people are sitting back saying, oh, that will never happen here. It's completely impossible. Well, that's about to change. In Puerto Rico right now, they're going to face strict austerity measures, including a huge cut in the minimum wage. It's very odd because here in the States, they were telling everyone that we have to increase minimum wage. In Puerto Rico, they're going to cut minimum wage. If President Obama and Congress are able to pass their so-called Promesa bailout package, which stands for Puerto Rico Oversight, Management, and Economic Stability Act, which really means austerity, we are going to see the people in Puerto Rico suffer. Now, Obama has urged the senators to approve this bill very, very quickly, even though the 3.5 million residents of the U.S. territory can't vote for the president or federal legislators in the general election. They could be forced to swallow this new bill, which prioritizes the interests of vulture funds and other bondholders. And when we look at this, what do we see happening here? We see that they're going to privatize a lot of what's in the country, just like we saw in Greece, just like what we saw in Cyprus, like we've been seeing in Ukraine. And all of this is going to go to the creditors. And this looks exactly like what Greece is going through. Same exact thing. Now, Puerto Rico, they are unable to file for bankruptcy after an amendment made to the U.S. law exempted the territory from the Chapter 9 option. Not clear why this was done this way, but we see at this point that the people are going to feel what austerity feels like. And this is just the beginning. Welcome to the collapse here. It has started. It's going to spread. Now, the government, the corporate media, they are continually out there telling us how great the economy is doing. Oh, except for this little area over here, except for Detroit, except for Puerto Rico, except for Europe. We're doing fantastic. So they're out there telling everyone how great retail sales are. And when we look at this and we look at the numbers, we say, really, retail is improving. We're having more stores closed down. We're having more layoffs in retail. We see it completely contracting. Luxury retailers are down. Home improvement is down. Department stores are down. Sporting good is down. Furniture stores are down. But they're telling us everything is incredible. Well, then we look at the numbers and we say, why is this? Well, remember, they count gas purchases as retail. And when you look at this, we see that the biggest contributor to May's gains was a 2.1% jump in gasoline station spending. That's because prices have gone up on gas. And year-on-year, growth in retail sales slowed to just 2.5%. Building materials, garden supplies, furniture stores, department stores, they've all declined by 1.8% in the month. And when we look at this, we see that retail it's not improving. Actually, the national retail sales fell 1% during the first 2 weeks of June. This is coming from Redbook Research, which reported it today. So already in June, sales are down. Now, if gas prices continually rise, they're going to flip it around and tell you that everything is fine, that we're looking at an increase of retail. And of course, they're using terms like, oh, retail is bouncing back. Retail is on the mend. Retail is going to take off now. No, it's not. This is the headlines they use to fool everyone. You know how many times they've said this already? This is the 5th time in the last 2 years where they said retail, housing, it's going to take off. And guess what? It hasn't. They're lying to you. And they continually lie. We see year over year, inventories have risen by 1%, while sales have tumbled by 1.3%. So we can see at this point, we're heading to the same area that we were back in 2008 at the height of the economy, where they said everything is fantastic. It's all contained. And then it came crumbling down. Well, business inventories to sales back then was around 1.50 back in 2008. It dropped all the way down to 1.25. We are now at 1.4. And it's already falling. Which tells us that this entire system that we're looking at, this economy, is heading for a major collapse. Because as we know, most of the sectors, they were created as bubbles. And this was created by the U.S. government central bankers to convince everyone that everything is A-OK. They manipulated the statistical numbers like unemployment, GDP, inflation, and so forth. They went around the country, created the bubbles, printed a lot of currency, and we see the service sector, manufacturing, all declining. The Baltic Dry Index has dropped by 1 point down to 608. And we see Bank of America clients once again, they are selling stocks like crazy, trying to get out of the market. And again, the market did not do that well. We see gold now is approaching 1,300. And this is something that we need to watch very carefully. Like I said, this is going to be a very good indicator, because once we see gold moving up $60, $70, $80 and they can only suppress it by 20 and it continually moves up, this is a signal where everyone should say, okay, I need to start ramping up what I'm doing here. If you don't have cash on hand, you better get it. You don't have gold or silver, this is your opportunity to do this. Deutsche Bank, their model out there is saying that there's a 55% chance the U.S. is going to go into a recession. Into a recession? We're already in the recession. What they're really saying is this entire economy is going to go into a collapse, full-blown, where everyone will be aware of it. Now, there's a lot of people out there who say, well, we're in a collapse now. Yes, some of the people are feeling it. Others are not. And it is spreading, yes. But when we're in the full collapse, everyone is going to notice. The corporate media will have to recognize that something is wrong. There's no way out of this. It's very interesting because I was speaking to my father, and he does not go along with whatever I say here. Actually, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum here. But he did say something very interesting to me, that he's saying that he's hearing things about the economy not doing well, and it might collapse, and my money might not be worth something later on, which I found very interesting. And then I started to explain to him, what was really going on, and he kind of shut down a little bit. But he is now hearing it. It's going to take a little while for him to accept what is going on. He did ask me what I should do. I told him to buy gold and silver. I told him where to do it. A lot of times I don't approach my family members. If they do ask me a question, I will answer them. A lot of times they do shut down. I know a lot of people feel or have the same thing happening. And it is very difficult to make people understand what is really going on here. And I brought this up to him many, many times before. He asked me the same questions. What should I do? And, for many years now, I've been telling him the same exact thing. And, he doesn't like to listen. But I find that a lot of people who write in say the same exact thing. Now, we understand the BREXIT is coming up. We know there's going to be a vote. We already see the ECB. They're preparing for this BREXIT. What they're going to say is they're going to monetize the entire thing if the UK should leave the euro. They're going to make sure that the system continues on. Now, the ECB, they pledge that they're going to involve opening so-called swap lines with the Bank of England, allowing the euro and the sterling to be exchanged and effectively make unlimited funding in both currencies available to European banks. But you have to remember that the ECB is limited in what they can do. Beyond releasing funds for banks, extending its money printing program, which really has already saturated the markets completely, especially now that they're purchasing corporate bonds. And they already have about, 1.1 trillion out there. And they're running out of bonds, they're running out of securities, and they're running out of things to do to keep the system afloat. But they're going to do whatever they possibly can to make sure that the system goes on until they have the group, the country, to blame. Now, can they turn it around and blame the people in the UK? Yes, they could do this. If they see things are failing, they can say, because you did this, look what has happened. Because you have to remember, David Cameron and all the rest are threatening war, they're threatening collapse, they're threatening everything. Actually, if this does occur, you know that nothing's really going to happen. Their system is going to be affected, which is the major point of this whole thing, is that they don't want this to be affected. And then other countries are going to look in this and say, why are we part of the euro? Why are we part of the euro? I don't understand this. Maybe we should leave too. And a lot of countries are starting to look at this and say, maybe we should leave. Maybe we should have a vote. And this is what they're most nervous about the central banking countries breaking off and messing up their one world type of government, their one currency dream. And we see as we move forward that things are really starting to deteriorate. They're starting to accelerate. And more of this information that continually comes out shows us that the central bankers, the governments around the world, they're having a very tough time convincing the people that everything is fine. They're having a tough time maintaining control. And when they start to feel like they're losing control, there's a threat to their authority, this is when people should start getting nervous. This is when everyone should say, okay, they're ready to do something. And we need to watch this entire situation, and we need to make sure that we are prepared for what is coming. Because we can see right now, we're heading into the summer months. We're heading up to that election period. Many people are out there saying that something is about to happen. We see a lot of the big names where they're shorting the market, they're getting out of the market, they're purchasing gold, they're getting prepared and ready for what is coming, because they know from their inside connections what is happening. We know what is happening because of all the economic indicators that we've been following. We know what is going on here. We know this is not something that came out of left field. We know the economy has been slowly declining and getting worse and worse until we end up into that full-blown collapse. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.